Here we have our Bernina B330. So we're going to go ahead and get going on this and learn how to thread our machine and wind our bobbin. Okay, with this device, it's a little bit different than some of the other machines. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We've already got our power cord plugged in. So we're going to go ahead and plug in our foot control pedal, and we're going to go ahead and turn our device on. So you can see we have an additional vertical spool pin. We're not going to use that today, so we're just going to use a single thread. So let's go ahead and get started. You can also see that we do not have our bobbin case yet in our machine, so we're going to kind of go over some of that. In class, we've already covered some of the parts of the sewing machine, but just as a refresher, here's our speed control lever, so we can plus or minus that for how fast we want to go. Let's just go ahead and start slow today. We also have our back stitch button, and we have our needle take up and take down button. Stitch width, needle position, and then we also have our stitch length. So these two are probably pretty key for you guys for beginning sewing. We also have our stitch selection buttons. So typically from our class, we'll probably stick within 1 and 2. If we need a wider stitch, we can go to 4. And then when we get to buttonholes, we'll go ahead and do the 0 button as well. You guys shouldn't have to mess with the memory or the alphabet really very much. But let's go ahead and get to it. Put our thread on our spool pin, and then I'm going to go ahead and use this littler spool pin holder because it matches our thread. So the larger one looks like this, and it can be used for bigger our thread. And we're going to come back here on the back of the thread guide, and then we're going to come around our spool pin and kind of wrap around. One time, and then we'll go ahead and take our bobbin and place it on the bobbin winder. So I'm going to go ahead as well and put my thread in my bobbin and wrap it around a few times before I put it on to the bobbin winder. And all I have to do is trim that a little bit, and then I'm going to slide over the bobbin winder and it'll automatically go. Oops. And once my bobbin is wound enough, it will hit the thread cutter and it'll push it over, and so then it'll know to stop automatically. So, and this should allow the bobbin to wind up and down. All right. Likewise, I can also do it by hand by moving the thread cutter over to the right. So, in some models, you'll see that the bobbin you have to move to the right, and that's what I was trying to do at the beginning. But I'm gonna go ahead and clip this. And then we can go ahead and begin threading our machine as well. Okay, I've actually decided to go ahead and switch my color of thread for the top, just so you guys can see it slightly better. But I'm gonna go ahead and put my thread on here, and again, use that smaller spool pin. And then I'm gonna go ahead and take this thread and thread the machine. So we're gonna go ahead and start with the rear thread guide. So I'm gonna take my thread behind, and there should be a metal piece back here that catches your thread, and you can hold it between. And then I'm going to, with my left hand, pull this down. There's an arrow right here, so I want to follow the arrows. That's the best advice I can give. Okay, so we had our thread go through the rear thread guide. We've brought it through to the front on the right side of our thread take-up cover. So I'm going to go on the right side of the thread take-up cover. I'm going to come over on the left side of the thread take-up cover. And then inside behind this cover, you've got your actual take-up lever. So we're going to go ahead and go behind it. And if you look real close, we'll zoom in here just a little bit, you can see that there's a little hook that our thread has to go through. So we want to make sure that it clamps in there, and it'll make a little clicking sound. Once that happens, that's good. Well, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next part where we're going to bring it down the other side of the thread take-up cover, and then we're going to wrap it around this little metal protuberance right here. Okay, so next we're going to go ahead and do the bobbin itself. So we're going to take our freshly wound bobbin. I'm going to go ahead and pop it into a bobbin case. So Berninas are unique because they actually have a bobbin case that's removed, whereas if I had an Elna or a Singer, we'd be using the bobbin case up here, and so you'd have to just lift the presser foot and then you'd insert it there. But we're going to go ahead and take this. We're going to place it inside of our bobbin case. It's important that we don't lose the bobbin cases because these are pretty expensive. And then I'm going to take it, and there's a little tooth right here almost that you can send your thread through. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in and wrap it around to where these other teeth are over here. And you want to hear that clicking sound because that lets you know that your thread is secure, but really you're looking to get it inside this little area here. From here, there's like a little lever. We're going to take it, we're going to open it, and we're going to insert it into our bobbin case. Okay, so So to do that, I want to make sure that this piece right here lines up with the actual hole for the bobbin case. Okay, so again, we have our bobbin case. We want this part sticking up. There's a little nook in here that this piece will fit into, and you'll feel it. And if you have issues, it's probably because you just didn't get it in there correctly. So we're just going to, again, we pulled that lever back. We're going to go ahead and insert this in here. Oops. Okay, and it shouldn't move if you have it in correctly. Okay, and then from here, we're going to go ahead and take our upper thread, and we're going to use the hand wheel and crank it towards us. We should always crank it towards us. And with our left hand, we're going to pull the tail of the upper thread, and this is where we should be able to pull the, there we go. We should be able to pull the bobbin thread from the bottom up. So at this point, you can go ahead and cover or close your bobbin cover, and then we'll go ahead and move on and start our stitching.